Most people in life are wondering, how do I make a life worth living and return it worth having? And how do I do this in an amount of time that makes sense to me and my family? And how do I spend enough time with my children? And how do I spend enough time with my spouse? And how do I have quality time with each where there's really some privacy about? And how do I really make love to the person I love without someone barging in or someone voyeuring in or someone using their cell phone technology to violate our privacy? You see, in life, we have to look at what's in the political realm. We have a lot of topics currently across the board in politics, but very few of them are really touching the lives of everyone. The things that touch the lives of everything and everyone are really life balance topics. Life balance topics are things we learn about when we study MLMs, when we participate in business networking groups, and when we actually go to a really quality school. Life balance begins with faith, which is our lawful right under the First Amendment to assemble and worship any way we so choose and please, with whoever we so choose and please. Then we have family, which is our choice. Under the International Human Rights Declaration, we have the right to choose our life partners however we so chose to do so. Then, of course, we have finances. Finances are our lawful right under federal law to be employed legally and correctly, without any difficulty, without any discrimination, and without any troubles in life. We have to be ethical, we have to be moral, we have to be willing to pay people fair wages so that all people can prosper and we live in a happy and content society instead of in a moral, thieving society. You see, when there's deficits in finances, people steal. And they steal because of a foolish and immature attitude of entitlement. I want it, therefore I'm going to take it. And that is the childish point of view. At the present time, I've been living in sort of poverty and squalor, but the Lord has me on an adventure that is amazing. I could tell you a simple little story about a box today, but only if you were a person of pagan faith would you really get it. And I'm sad for that because so many people miss out on the festivals and the glory and the magnificence and the magic of the Lord. On top of finances, of course, we're going into something a little bit different. We think about fitness. Fitness is our cellular health. We have medical rights laws and privacy laws that protect everyone's right to the security of the information about our quiet and private bodies in the act of propriety. Propriety is an old-fashioned word about what is and isn't appropriate in a moral society for people to do, say, and show off. Beyond the concept of fitness, of course, there's the aspect of friendship or fellowship. And in life, we have the right, as you know, to assemble, but we have the right to pursue people through telecommunications opportunities and other types of technologies that give us access to the world. We can create friends all around the globe. And in my case, my late Japanese spouse and son were practically someone I reached out and touched through a Skype technology when it was a very quality-oriented tool, without much difficulty in use and without them trying to boot people out of the system and reboot them as Microsoft, when Microsoft converged and merged with that company. Beyond the concept of fellowship or friendship, there's of course the aspect of philanthropy. And philanthropy is really kind of the final stage of a person's life, as Dr. John Maxwell, one of my favorite authors, describes survival to security to significance. When you're in the survival mode, you're really thinking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I've got to sleep, I've got to eat, I've got to poop, and I have to do it all cleanly and sanitized, and we have to have quality water in America to do that. We have to have fisheries that don't have pollutants in it, and we have to really know how to handle those things. Beyond that, we of course have to think about the philanthropy in terms of once we're in security mode, is there some type of organization or some sort of charity that we like to give our time, our finances, our resources, or our talents to? Our time, our treasure, and our talent is usually how we talk about that in a faith-oriented community. But also in philanthropy, we have that area of significance. When our life force has designed some sort of business, usually, that has produced such wealth that we can siphon some money off, a good percentage of it, maybe 10% to our church, which is the typical, ethical, tithing, appropriate way, to make sure that God blesses us back in our life with financial productivity and financial worth, etc., and financial wealth. After all, you are wealthy if you have some extra spare change to give to people who are struggling out there. But also within philanthropy, we have to figure out what causes and what initiatives and what concerns do we have as a moral society. We have a lot of hate brewing right now, and it's bothering me a great deal because I am not a hateful person. I do have to put people in their place an awful lot in an impoverished community to say, I'm sorry, that's your boundaries and that's your life, and this is my boundaries and this is my life. And if you'd like to be pals with me, fine. If you'd like some marketing advice, fine. If you'd like some prophetic advice, no problem. But please don't presume, don't assume, don't assert, and don't assume that you and I are practically friends. You see, friendship is something that's built over time. A lot of young people don't know how to approach an elder gentleman who's twice their age. It is sometimes offensive to me, and other times I don't mind. My favorite word that they call me in the hood is old school. They don't do that as much anymore because my beard is not as robust as it once was, because the players and the liars and the fourth and the community and the black women and the people who just thought they'd control someone else's life in an illegal and immoral and illicit game have cut a lot of my pagan priest beard off me, a beard that took me a year to grow. That is actually a federal offense. It's called molestation, and it's on the verge of mutilation. What they've done and performed on my body without my consent is absolutely mutilation. But someone in my family didn't think about my rights to privacy. Someone in my family didn't think about the aspect of safety. Someone in the law enforcement didn't think it mattered, and it became a big fucking deal to them. But even the fact that I'm able to do this reporting is protected underneath the First Amendment and rights of free speech and freedom of the press. In life, we have moments of time to tell people what's real. I do my best to tell people how I feel without getting too prophetic or too prolific or too, well, inappropriate. But the truth is, in life, I am madly in love with a woman who I openly long to see. But in order to protect her life, in order to protect her sons, in order to protect past loves, I have chosen a life away from them. It's not easy for me to be away from those I love. It's not easy for me to know that my past loves have married on and have children, but it was a joy to see that I could recognize my first college girlfriend from a thumbprint on Facebook. I can no longer find that particular profile, which I'd like to, just to say, hey, how are you? And tell me about your girls, and tell me about your man, and how's this all working out for you in God's hands? But I don't have the opportunity, and I'd love to talk about Catholicism because she was my first Catholic in my life. But in life, we have moments of time to tell people what is real. And while I might be able to reach out to a few metaphysical friends, many of them feel that they are gods on the earth, and I don't feel that way. I am humbled every single day by what God shows me in prophetic wisdom of, please go and ask him for this because we're going to need it. Like this little concept of the box, which I'll tell in another sermon. I guess what I'm talking about is that when we're dealing with the political realm, when we're looking at the upcoming election, we have to really think about, does the person going into office really understand what is right for me? And more importantly, does the person going into the actual office of the president represent me in an honorable way that honors not only me, but my heritage and the struggles that my entire lineage of people, no matter what color, no matter what race, no matter what nationality, no matter what nation, no matter what Indian tribe, you name it, feels about our history. That our history is one full of honor and dignified lessons of how to be a free people, how to love people for who they are, and how to produce a poverty-oriented society. Now, you're probably surprised by the last part, but we really have produced a poverty mindset society. We have television programs that debase people. We have programs that show killing of people. We have programs that are too old and too mature for the young people who are watching them because nobody took the time, not once, to give a manual from a hospital to an impregnated mother who's going home with a new baby about these are the ages and stages of what is and isn't appropriate in the behavior of your coming child's growth. And I really am vehemently angry about hospitals for that. Because if we're a moral society, we teach our children well. We teach them what the laws of the land are, and the first and foremost is, why did we come to America in the first place? And how do we get out of slavery into a land of plenty? And how do we learn to treat people so that we are not reversing the concept and reversing the polarity and reversing the hatred that once lived in our land? You see, we're no longer a, melting pot is what we used to be called. We're more of a smorgasbord, and the smorgasbord still has a lot of commonalities, in that we're all trying to produce a life with a good living wage. We all are trying to produce a loving partner to live into our old age, and we're all trying to produce a way to protect our personhood in terms of our every aspect of our cellular health. We're all trying to figure out how to produce and protect our paperwork, which is every aspect of our legal life, medical, legal, and lineage in terms of our federally protected life insurance policies should anything happen to us, if we get sick or there's a demise. And finally, what's most important to us in the average day-to-day of any shopping American is our possessions, the property that we inherit from loved ones who loved us from long ago, to the point that shows our actual family history and tree, but at the same time for the loving gifts that people give to us throughout our lifetime, across our birthdays, across our celebrations, across our achievements, across our, devastations, and openly what people do in loving kindness to show compassion to me and you. I'd like to thank you for taking the time to listen to this little political sermon. I hope you're starting to think about your choices coming up. If you're someone who's not living in poverty and isn't living without a home, you probably have already registered to vote. I highly encourage you to do that, and my vote stays with the Democratic Party, because I don't want a dictator in the White House. And I don't want someone who's going to humiliate me with their mouth and their inappropriateness in sexual terms or otherwise in the nations around the globe. Thanks for listening.